My husband of 20 years was cheating on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. I stumbled upon some explicit texts between them, which left me in complete shock, and he made cruel remarks about me in their conversations. After processing everything, I told my kids about this. I am a 41-year-old female and a stay-at-home mom. My husband, who is 48 years old, works in finance, and for the purposes of this post, I will call him Paul. We have been married for nearly 20 years. We have 2 children, our 18-year-old son, who I will call Eric, and our 15-year-old daughter, Mary. Both of my children are the lights of my life. However, my marriage with Paul has grown somewhat stale over the years, due to a number of factors, including his intense work schedule and the fact that I feel I have aged poorly since we first met. Our son, Eric, has a girlfriend who is also 18 years old. I will refer to her as Amy. Eric has been dating Amy since they were both freshmen in high school, and he absolutely adores her. She is his first love, and she is someone that I have always considered as part of our family. This is what makes the situation I am about to describe so emotionally excruciating for me. Last week, I inadvertently saw my husband's phone screen and caught a glimpse of a text thread between him and Amy, our son's girlfriend. I read what looked like a message from Amy telling Paul that she misses sucking his cock. I froze in place, in complete disbelief. I spent most of the day trying to convince myself that I had misread what I saw. However, I did not misread it. Over the last several days, I discovered a file on Paul's computer filled with BDSM pornography. He clearly has a pornography addiction. In addition, I found saved photos of Amy from her Instagram on his computer. While these photos were not inappropriate, she was fully clothed. They still served as the proof I needed to confirm that I was not imagining things. I also started looking at Paul's phone during opportune moments and saw more of their interactions. I wish I had never looked. Their text messages were filled with mean and horrible things said at my expense. He constantly compared me to Amy, calling me fat and old, among other things, with Amy laughing at his cruel remarks. I have always had hunches or paranoid feelings that Paul was cheating on me, but I never, in a million years, could have imagined something like this. Last month, I found a thong in our bedroom that I knew was not mine. At the time, I turned a blind eye to it, naively telling myself that it could have belonged to our daughter, even though that made absolutely no sense. Now, not only is Paul cheating on me, but he is also betraying our son. I am completely devastated. I do not even think words can adequately describe the dread, anger, and shock that I feel right now. I am totally overwhelmed, unsure of how to handle this situation, because I know that action needs to be taken, but I am terrified of the potential impact this will have on our son. I have no idea how to even broach this completely messed up topic with him. I would not wish this predicament on my worst enemy, and I cannot believe that I married such a scumbag in the first place. Then, my mind started racing as I realized that I had started noticing unusual behavior from Paul around the same time Amy turned 18. Was he waiting for her to become legal before pursuing this affair? There are so many layers to this situation, and I am completely paralyzed with fear and dread. None of it makes any sense. How did this happen? Am I really that much of a fool that I allowed this to happen right under my nose? Eric adores Amy, and the thought of revealing this sickening truth to him terrifies me. The emotional and psychological impact on him could be devastating. My heart aches for both Eric and Mary, who are completely innocent bystanders in this entire mess. I have not yet confronted Paul about what I know because I am frankly scared of the consequences. I do not know who to turn to first, and that is why I am sharing my story here, not to seek sympathy, but to find some understanding and perhaps advice from those who have grappled with deep betrayal. Thank you for listening. Date 1. I am using pseudonyms for confidentiality. I shared a situation a few days ago on another subreddit involving my husband, Paul, our children, Eric and Mary, and our son's girlfriend, Amy. In that post, I explained how I discovered that Paul was having an affair with Amy, who has been dating our son since they were freshmen in high school. Since then, my brother connected me to a tough lawyer who has a reputation for being a junkyard dog. I saved screenshots of all the text conversations between Paul and Amy that I could access, although I was only able to recover the last 3 months' worth of messages from Paul's iCloud account. The conversations were mostly filled with flirtatious and sexual remarks, which were hard to stomach. It was completely sleazy, and I saw several negative things said about me. Paul's call history also showed that he has been speaking with Amy for hours on a regular basis. Additionally, I discovered that he uses dating apps and has active chats with multiple women. I took screenshots of his dating profiles and conversations. It is evident that he uses filters to specifically seek out women in the 18 to 22 age range. I also copied all of Paul's files from his computer. He frequents sex chat rooms and forums and spends a considerable amount of money on OnlyFans. I rummaged through every possible hiding spot in our house and found various toys, blindfolds, cuffs, lubricants, and different outfits, including what appeared to be a girl's Catholic school uniform and a French-maid costume. I picked up Eric and Mary from school, and we all drove to my brother's house. They could sense that something was wrong when I picked them up, so I delicately told them the entire situation, breaking down in tears as I did. Mary was the angriest, even more so than Eric. I also met with Amy's mother and told her everything. She confiscated Amy's phone and provided me with the entire chat log, which, like Paul's iCloud, only dated back 3 months. It seems like they both deleted the earlier messages at the same time. Amy's mother told me that when confronted, Amy sobbed and insisted that I would never understand. She claimed that she and Paul were in love. Amy said that before the affair became physical, Paul was like a friend and mentor to her. Her mother believes that Paul took advantage of Amy's vulnerability as she comes from a broken home.
I konfrontet Paul over Zoom.
The look on his face was terrifying. He became red and sweaty, with a mixture of anger and panic in his eyes. He kept yelling the word context over and over again, insisting that none of that happened. He stuttered constantly and was defensive, and nothing he said made sense. I refused to tell him where I was, and he accused me of having no right to take his children away from him. Then he abruptly ended the Zoom call. My lawyer is filing for temporary sole custody of Mary and a restraining order. Mary is still furious with her father and Amy, and understandably so. She has been remembering moments when she saw her father interact with her friends and is now questioning his behavior. Eric is hurting deeply but has been very mature and level-headed about the situation. He has expressed a desire to see a therapist, and I am proud of the strength and maturity both of my children have shown. They do not deserve any of this. We have also reported everything to the authorities. I am determined to be completely unforgiving and ruthless in this divorce. I have reflected on how Paul's behavior has affected me over the years, how it made me a shell of myself, and how I have held a negative opinion of myself because of him. I want to reinvent myself and move on from this stronger than ever. Update 2. Thank you again for all the love and encouragement. It means so much to me and provides comfort during this incredibly difficult time. Many people have accused me of faking this story, and while it is hurtful, it oddly provides me with some solace, because all of this feels unreal even to me. I wish it were fake. I have been focusing so much on how others are feeling that I have somewhat ignored my own emotions, but I am trying to change that. My feelings range from anger to numbness, shifting like a light switch. We are all safe and still staying at my brother's house. His home is very secure with an alarm system and deadbolt locks, and we feel safe there. Paul has been calling my phone several times a day, but I am refusing to interact with him. I will let my lawyer handle all communication with him. Frankly, he scares me. Both Eric and I got checked out and tested for sexually transmitted infections. So far, we both tested clean based on rapid tests, but we will know for certain when the lab results come in. I am not overly concerned, but we are taking all precautions. Eric has his first therapy appointment scheduled for next week, which is good and very much needed. He seems a bit shell-shocked, and I am concerned because he internalizes a lot. However, he has been thoughtful, asking me how I am doing and talking with me when he feels ready. He has no interest in communicating with Paul at all. As for Mary, I offered to make her a therapy appointment as well, but she said she is not ready. She wants time to process everything on her own, but she is open to therapy in the future. She has been speaking to her friends about her father, asking if they ever felt uncomfortable around him. One of her friends revealed that she always felt like Paul stared at her, particularly at her rear, and would compliment her yoga pants. Next story. I'm the kid of one of those traveling RV families online, and I hate them for it every day. I've spent years feeling trapped in this lifestyle, homeschooled and lacking friends. I reached out to my estranged family and found my grandma, aunt, and uncle who want to help me escape my situation. I'm now preparing to leave and figure out how to tell my parents, or if I should at all. When I was only around 7 years old, my parents made the decision without my input, as I was far too young to have an opinion on anything, to pack us up and move into a recreational vehicle, RV, to travel around the United States. My dad works online, and my mom creates content online. She is not extremely famous by any means, but she is big enough that we get recognized sometimes, and big enough that I have had a camera shoved in my face for as long as I can remember. For the sake of my privacy, I will not share anything else about that, and I am using a throwaway account because I have already gotten enough attention and I am sick of it. I sleep in a tiny bunk bed that I outgrew years ago, and the other bunk is the only space I have to put anything I own. I do not even have a room, just a curtain, and thank goodness I am an only child, or else I would have to share the little space I already have. I was homeschooled for most of my education, and then switched to online school for high school at my own insistence. I am an 18-year-old girl, and I do not have a single friend in person because the longest I have ever stayed in one place is about a month. I do not have a job, and I have no way to get one because of not staying in one place for long. Unless I find an online job, I also have no means to move out and get away from them. I have had countless conversations with them about all of this, but they are so delusional and genuinely believe that a nomadic existence is the best way to live. So they think I will never need anything else. I resent them for treating me like some pet they can just drag along in their plans rather than treating me as their child. I hate traveling. I do not like heat. I cannot stand dealing with bugs, and I am so fed up with hiking. I cannot wait for the day I finally figure out a way to escape their morning hikes and cameras in my face. Yes, I have traveled around the United States, but heaven forbid I want to live a normal life, go to college, or maybe even make some friends. Apparently, that is too much to ask. Update. Barely over a week ago, I made a post sharing my very negative experience of living in an RV with my parents for nearly 10 years. Even though it has been such a short time since that post, a lot has changed for me. I do not know how many people here would be interested in an update on my situation, but I know quite a few were concerned and might appreciate hearing how things have progressed. So here it is. Also, fair warning, this is a fairly lengthy post as I tend to ramble, but there is a sort of too long, did not read, TLDR at the end. I received a lot of helpful advice, resources, and even offers to try to assist me personally. Some of these offers were questionable, admittedly, but the majority were genuinely concerned people who wanted to help, and I am very grateful for that. It was slightly overwhelming, and I ended up not responding to many people, so you will all have to forgive me for that. However, even if I did not reply much, I have been doing research based on the information many provided. One thing that stood out was people asking if I had any family I could stay with, to which I had to respond, not that I know of, because I have no one on my dad's side of the family, and my mom has maintained strict no contact with her family. I did not know whether they were alive, if they cut her off, or if she cut them off, and I had no details about them because my mom never wanted to talk about it. What I did have was my mom's maiden name, which is fairly uncommon, and I knew where she was born. Surprisingly, in terms of trying to find family, that can get you pretty far, as I have come to realize. I have always had a slight hatred for the internet because I never had any choice about my life being public knowledge, and I know that once something is out there, it is out there for good. But for the first time, I am actually really grateful for the internet. I was able to find some information on my mom's side of the family, and specifically, I found my grandma's Facebook account, though it did take some effort. After a lot of stress about how to approach messaging her, if I even should, and considering the potential outcomes, I finally messaged her, explaining my mom's background, who I was, and my current situation. I will not go into details about why my grandma and my mom are no longer in contact because that is not my story to tell. But my grandma was appalled to learn that she had a granddaughter she did not even know about, and even more horrified by the way her daughter had raised me. I also discovered that I have an aunt and an uncle, and my grandma told them about me and my situation. Since then, I have been in near constant contact with all of them as we get to know each other. They all want to help me escape this living situation with my parents, and now that I am 18, it is actually possible. Again, I do not feel entirely comfortable going into all the details, but I have made arrangements to stay with my aunt, who lives in a big city on the West Coast. This city has a lot of potential opportunities for me, including starting college, which I am happy to announce is something I am planning on figuring out. My uncle has kids, but my aunt lives alone and has a spare bedroom, which she is more than happy to let me stay in for as long as necessary. I already have a train ticket scheduled, purchased by my aunt, and enough money to get to the station. I am currently talking with my newfound family. Still feels weird to type that, and trying to plan out the details, such as how or whether I will tell my parents. My mom does not know where any of her family lives, so even if I were to tell them whom I am going to live with, they would not know where to find me. Someone pointed out that if I leave without telling my parents, I should leave a note or some form of proof that I left willingly. So if I decide not to have a conversation with them, I am planning on leaving a note or filming a video explaining my plans and why I am leaving, which would be kind of ironic considering the cameras. As for my mom's filming, I have been very quiet around my parents, refusing to talk when the camera is on, but neither of them has mentioned anything about it so far, luckily. Speaking of my mom's content, I want to emphasize something quickly. Almost everyone was genuinely trying to help, but I had a few people try to guess who I was. Luckily, those few comments were torn apart, and the users deleted them. I also received a few private messages from people trying to guess my identity, which at least was not made public. While I can understand people being curious, I posted anonymously with very little personal information for a reason. As I stated in my previous post, I have received enough attention, and I am very tired of it. I would greatly appreciate it if people could respect that. Even if you think you might know who I am, please not make public guesses, and understand that I do not want this tied to my real identity. To sum up a very long story, I now have concrete plans to leave, and I have a safe place to go with my aunt. I truly appreciate how willing people were to help. If you had told me less than 2 weeks ago that I would not only have a plan to move away from my parents but also be in contact with family members I did not even know existed, I do not think I would have believed it. At the moment, I am not planning to post another update, but I wanted to let those who were concerned know not to worry and to genuinely thank everyone. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear more interesting stories and perspectives, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with your friends. Don't miss out on more interesting videos. Click the video on your screen to check out my previous interesting content. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below. See you in the next video.